Hello and welcome to the Entrepreneurship podcast series by UIIN. I'm Tasha Day, Project Officer and your host for today. In today's episode, we delve into what it truly means to be a collaborative, impact-driven university. Our guest is Freek van Muiswinkel, Director of Entrepreneurship and Regional Partnerships at Utrecht University, an institution that is redefining how universities connect with their regions, foster entrepreneurship and drive societal change. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Freek van Muiswinkel on the topic of what it means to be a collaborative, impact-driven university and how this plays out in practice at Utrecht University. So since 2020, Freek has been the Director of Entrepreneurship and Regional Partnerships at Utrecht University. And Utrecht is really focused on fostering regional knowledge exchange and innovation, entrepreneurial research encompassing entrepreneurship, valorization and spin-offs, and also the development of entrepreneurial education into the curriculum. And on top of all of this, also the recognition and reward of impactful activities. And these three topics together fit really nicely with the breadth of work that we do here at UIN. So I'm really excited to be talking with Freek today and hearing more about these activities at Utrecht. So Freek, thank you for joining us.
Nice to be here.
We're going to kick it off now. So your title combines two big domains, entrepreneurship and regional cooperation. How do you see these two coming together in your role at Utrecht University?
Thank you first for being here, and also to the audience. Any follow-up questions we can do later, of course. I'm always there to connect to you. But my job over the years has grown from being a scientist all the way to running the life science cluster in Utrecht between our university and the medical center. And then we noticed already early that making contact to the region is very valuable. Not only the municipality and the province, but also the companies in our region. They took part in our innovation endeavor, so to say. It's a classical model, of course, but then you have to really be there and put some extra effort in both the entrepreneurial side of the university, but also taking all the regional partnerships very seriously and do lots of work to connect to those partners. So my job title was then really growing into what I'm doing now. On the one hand, entrepreneurial spirit is important. So we foster a lot inside university. At the same time, we try to do this outside in. So being out of the university is mostly my job at the moment, trying to connect to those partners and try to see what is their needs for innovation. So that's basically the two things, maybe strengthening each other. And being present in the region also means that we build platforms for our scientists to really load out their knowledge into purposeful initiatives in the region. And of course, our region is a small world. We have all the problems of the world in a small area also. So we always have said that maybe think global, but act local. And that's an old term, but it works fine for us. So that's basically what I'm doing.
Absolutely. Thank you. I really agree with act local, think global, because I think the best impacts that we can have are indeed in front of us. And I think that Utrecht University is also quite a unique environment for this kind of collaboration and reaching out into the region. And it has a reputation for being collaborative and impact oriented. And could you talk to me a little bit about what factors have influenced the university in this direction?
Yeah, well, I thought about it in advance, but for most, it's important that we are a research university, but a broad one. So we have law school all the way to veterinary sciences. So that brings us in a position that we have not only the STEM faculties available, but also the social science and humanities. That's by nature of our university. So we are in a position really to do more translational and transdisciplinary research because we have all those faculties. So I think there was a moment in time, of course, that we structured this relationship between the various faculties. But we were born as a broad university, which makes this really in front of our mission to work like that. And then nowadays we would call this open science, but maybe 20 years ago, we were just inventing how to connect those disciplines in a meaningful way, which is then focused on the societal challenges, of course. But we were able to do so by having all those disciplines in-house. And then we grew by really taking away borders between faculties, and we had different governance models in place. So we talk to faculty boards, of course, which are still there. But we also have some strategic teams around certain topics, which really brings everything together. But that's already a process for more than 20 years.
Indeed, amazing. I think it is really a front runner in these kind of activities. And I'm also curious because you mentioned that bringing down borders between disciplines. I was curious about any internal shifts that you've had to facilitate or you've seen facilitated at the university to make more space for this collaboration and co-creation. And also on this note, how this connects to the management of the university, because I think it's important that the management is behind these shifts. What internal shifts have there had to be, and Has it indeed been helped along by management? Has it been easy to get them on board?
To be honest, there are always sort of believers and non-believers, and certainly 20 years ago, there was maybe a little struggle to, for example, in the life sciences, to bring 5 separate faculties from biology all the way to pharmacy together in one cluster. So that took a little time, but later on, it turns out that it was a bottom-up approach because most of the scholars love to work in this kind of context, as long as they get the space to do it in terms of money, but also in reward. And I think over the years, every 5 years, we built a new agenda for the strategic teams, and we have 4 of them in Utrecht. You can see this on our website, but one of them is life sciences. Every 4 or 5 years, we redo our agenda of the strategic teams, and that is a completely bottom-up approach. The scientist in the lead, board is following in that respect. And again, the faculties are still there to do the regulatory research and education programs, of course. So it's sliding in over the years that the strategic teams are now bringing the fruitful collaborations also with the outer world. But still, the faculties are the pillars to build on. So it's convincing people and a little bit pushing sometimes, but only pushing, of course, doesn't work.
Indeed, the recognition and reward is such a important thing and actually such a unique thing. It's not so easy for many universities to be able to really get this on lock, being able to not only push people but actually reward them.
The support, of course, for those people who are doing the scientists and the scholars in educational programs alike, they need to be supported in a different way than we did in the past. So we ask them a lot to do this transdisciplinary work, connect to the outer world as well. But it takes lots of efforts and other types of support. So we are growing also in our staff, the support staff, in more professional, broader orientated support than the past. And I think that's fair. Otherwise, you cannot ask the community to get into open science if the support and the reward are not growing similarly.
For sure. And entrepreneurship is a key part of what you do. It's also in your job title. And I know that we're talking not just of the colloquial understanding of entrepreneurship, but also entrepreneurial thinking and doing, building agency. Would you be able to tell me, how does the university nurture this entrepreneurial mindset, both in its researchers, its educators, and its students?
Maybe to start with the students, because that's probably our future change agents. So we have realized that to put more entrepreneurial skills in that community in all the faculties might be helpful at the end also to connect better to the labor market, to be honest, but also to the grand challenges. So we started to grow entrepreneurial modules in the curricula, but that took time. And also the ones responsible for that had to buy in the students, not only the students, but also the staff of those faculties to contribute in their programs with their ideas about entrepreneurial skills in their context. What might be different from the context of medicine, of course, than from humanities. But we've gone there and we are now stable in a large percentage of the students get really entrepreneurial modules. So that's fine. Then, of course, to facilitate the real entrepreneurial spirit in the whole of the university, that took some time. And again, it's about giving the right freedom to people. So time to really invest in entrepreneurial ideas. But also there is some extra money available to give those people who are really front runners and have maybe the strangest ideas some extra money to start their enterprise and their entrepreneurial ideas first. And then we hand them over later to the knowledge transfer office and maybe to regional subsidy schemes. Putting some extra money for those that like to be entrepreneurial is good. And then, of course, you have people doing a good job and they are then role models for the rest of the community.
Absolutely. You have these kind of internal and transdisciplinary, across-disciplinary initiatives. I actually was also involved in the mixed classroom at Utrecht University a couple of years ago. It was really great, by the way, for anyone who is interested in joining. And then you also have the kind of large-scale national collaborations, for example, Food Valley. Would you be able to talk to me about how the process of setting up such a collaboration goes?
For those not familiar with the Netherlands, we had already large programs, public-private, mission-oriented economic programs, so they were economically driven in a way. But then the Dutch government realized that the really broader prosperity for a region might be a little bit more than only economic value. It's also the societal value. So they came up with a scheme, it's called the regional deals. A government from a certain area of the Netherlands could come forward with an idea that is helpful for their region. And so we got into the Food Valley together with the province of Gelderland, which is another province. And the two academic institutions, Utrecht University and Wageningen University, were then the sort of scientific engine in a 5 years program trying to see how we could change in the food valley the way we grow the food, but also how we eat the food, so to say. So healthy feed and food was going hand in hand there. And it had to do with the agricultural industry, but also with the people having a heavy and healthier lifestyle. So we came into this process, but then it was a balancing act, to be honest, because the policy, of course, and the policy makers, they would like to see answers within 1 year, 2 years, maybe 3. While we were looking for evidence-based knowledge to support, well, whatever direction the region would go, and that takes time. So we were a little bit in a struggle trying to find out how we could do a short cycling innovation process, while at the same time we were doing long-term cohort studies, for example, in the population.
Yeah.
So I'm laughing, but we were very successful for those who were interested to find each other in the middle. So we were able to steer a little bit on more short-term outputs. So the people living in our region could really follow what the academics were doing. And sometimes the farmers, for example, had really hands-on advice to change the way they do their farming. So it's possible, but we are sometimes looking back at this period, it was difficult to connect all the interests of everybody, not to talk about politics involved.
No, absolutely.
We learned from that, of course. It's learning by doing.
Indeed. Learning by doing. Yeah. All the way up.
And it's a successful instrument for the Dutch government, by the way. So we are proud that we could take part in that.
Absolutely. It seems like a really impactful initiative.
Do you want to be a part of a global community where universities, businesses, and public organizations come together to solve the world's biggest challenges? At UIIN, we equip our members with the skills, tools, and strategies they need to create impactful partnerships that drive real-world change. Whether it's upskilling your team, strengthening your institution's partnership efforts, or becoming more entrepreneurial, UIIN empowers you with the knowledge and support you need. Join us today. Visit uiin.org to find the best plan for your organization.
And these kind of opportunities, whether it be kind of a national government-led opportunity or if it's a small-scale collaboration with someone in the local area, how do you keep up with new opportunities for collaboration from the university's perspective?
Yeah, in general, we like to see our people from all the faculties being outside a little more. So we are joining, of course, regional and national congresses and meetings. So that's more by serendipity to listen out what is happening, what is the needs of the society at large. But we also have positions in the economic board of Utrecht, where we see the corporate companies and the municipality and the province talking about the long-term future of our region. There we can really make agendas together, and that's very helpful. Then all the municipalities in our region send their directors to a board meeting where we do short-term discussions about what is the need of tomorrow. And as university, we have people in these committees as well to listen out, but also to contribute to the discussion. For example, where is the labor market going? We have academics looking at the future of labor. Then, of course, the policymakers in the province listen out for their policies and try to learn from us. So it's a very natural process, but lots of being there and boots on the ground outside the campus. It's helpful.
Absolutely. I think that's a really good way to do it. And that's also actually how Freek and I met as well. We both went to a conference in Brussels. So I agree. Getting out of the office and meeting people really makes these connections happen.
And also, of course, the connection between universities or between companies. So we sort of mix the networks a little bit. So we trust on networks that are already there. And most of the time we only do connect to them with the handout, shake and say, we can help you out with some of the trouble. But also we need them, of course, to feed our educational programs with the real life problems of the business community, for example, and something else, what's happening in society. So we have a mutual interest to connect to each other.
Yeah, a bit of symbiosis going on. It's always good.
And the students ask for this. Like, the board, of course, is helpful, but most of the time our new generation of students don't like to be in the old-fashioned classrooms anymore. They like to do community-engaged learning. They like to be in like consultancy projects almost, which has done a scientific background, but they work for the companies in the region and they like that a lot.
I was a student not too many years ago, and these programs all sound really exciting to me. So I think indeed the students are happy.
And they're pushing us to the right directions, to open science.
Brilliant. And what advice would you give to someone working in a university who wants to embody this ethos of collaboration and entrepreneurship? What kind of first steps that can they take?
Maybe a little strange to say, but I think dare to sail on the rough waters. So go out there and really going where nobody has gone before as a university, from the university perspective. So I once explained to a colleague that I'm going to meetings, especially the ones I have no knowledge about. And they was like, what are you doing there? So, well, that's why I go there. And then you come back and you see all kinds of connections. So a little bit outside in and go out there. But also some of the professionals in a university, which is quite big in our case, are having positions and they're a little bit sad about their working environment maybe, or the job they've done for many years. I have lots of discussions, very enthusiastic discussions about job careers and motivate people to steer away from your own job and maybe look at somewhere else in the university context, have a job maybe which fits you better. And sometimes people find themselves in this valorization domain and are very busy but also happy with that. So I would also advocate to look at yourself sometimes and have a look around. Maybe your position is not an academic position anymore, but more a in-between position. And there's lots of work to do nowadays. So if that's an advice for some of the people, I would say, well, look around, look outside. Maybe you start working with a municipality even with an academic background and then help the municipality to connect better to the science, which is there. There's lots of things going on.
Yeah, absolutely. This dipping your feet into both academia and industry and boundary spanning, we call it, and bringing people together, I think is really important and exciting.
That's an important role because I was reading somewhere that there's also something like cognitive spillovers. So all those academics making lots of knowledge, but it's like a spillover situation. And somebody on the other side has to catch all those knowledge and put it into the reality. So I would advise people to have a look outside as well.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. I'm going to start attending meetings that have nothing to do with me then. And so, Freek, my last question to you is, it's a big one. What is your hope for the future of higher education? And I've also written a note to Freek in the preparation for this, that this can be as wacky or as practical as you like. It can take either direction or both.
Well, the world is full of hopes, but for the universities in particular, I thought about it. I think that we have to agree first that we are in a changing landscape. So the geopolitical situation, but also how society looks at universities is changing rapidly. And of course, that's the reality. So I hope that everybody finds a new position for the university or for the higher educational institutes in general, which is then more stable. And maybe we find ourselves at a different position in society. That might be true. So I hope that not only we find stable positions again, which might be context dependent in different countries, of course, but also I hope that we are open for change, because there are some arguments to mention that we as a university maybe have to change as well, for all kinds of reasons. I would like that people are open for change in that respect. And for us in Utrecht, we have now coined, of course, that we are an open science university in all our aspects. That gives some direction, at least for everybody inside in our university. And it is very hopeful to contribute to such a mission of open science as an example. So I hope everybody finds its mission and position again. But it's challenging times.
Absolutely. Very challenging times, very scary times. But I'm happy that we're both trying to be there facilitating universities to be able to seize the opportunities and help people to have the agency that they need to be able to survive and thrive and hopefully build a kind of future that we would all really like to live in.
Sure, I agree.
Nice. Thank you, Freek. If you like this session, we'd love to hear your feedback from the community on these events and what you'd like to see more of. And we also have a range of more long-form events, such as workshops, how-to sessions, as well as training programs where you can learn practical skills to apply in your own work. And also UIIN members get complimentary access and discounts on these services. So you can head to our website, which is uiin.org, and see how we can help you with this. We also have the UIN conference coming up next month. It's the 10th to the 12th of June at Meervaart Theatre in Amsterdam. You can also head to our website to check that out. I'm going to be there, and I'm hoping that Freek will be there as well. We're going to see. He has a busy agenda, but it would be lovely to be able to connect with some of you guys there. Freek, where can people find out more about Utrecht's work in the areas of entrepreneurship, impact and partnerships, and where can they get in contact with you if they want to hear more?
I think that we are very transparent. So if you Google my name, you will find my whereabouts. And please contact us because we like to share and also learn from others struggling with this kind of topics. And we certainly are open for collaboration. So feel free to send me an email and I'll get in touch with you. And hope to see you in Amsterdam, everybody.
Thank you for listening to today's discussion. Follow UIIN on LinkedIn. And if you're enjoying our podcast, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review it in your podcast platform of choice.